One of the shitty things that I have to tell you guys is that the more that you've been through that yo-yo cycle, the harder it is to lose weight thereafter because your body, it's just constantly adapting to being in this famine state to this feasting state, or as we say, restrictive state to binging state. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. I'm so excited you took time for yourself today to learn something to help yourself out. So I hope you find this episode really helpful. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about when will you start seeing results? This is such a hot topic. I have clients who really struggle with the results topic, especially if they've been people who have been yo-yo dieters or done these programs that, they lost weight really, really quickly. And now they're trying to learn how to do it the quote unquote right way, which I think is the right way. And it's a bit slower than they think. But once they get there, they're so happy that they were patient and they trusted the process. So we're going to get into that. Before then, though, for those of you who are new to this podcast, I like to talk about my life, catch you guys up on what's going on. And if you don't want to know anything about me, this round is going to be hilarious. But if you don't want to hear it, then check out the show notes below and you can see where our topics on when will I see results will start. Okay, so it's been a minute. I did a lot of episodes at once, if you guys couldn't tell. And then I decided to re-record them so that we could be up to date on my life. So I went to Lady World this last weekend and something happened that has never happened to me before in my life. And that is I got mosquito bites on my face. I have a ridiculous allergy to mosquitoes. I get bit. I literally have spray on all the time, but if I get wet, and in this case, there was workouts on the beach. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. I met a lot of, great people, but I forgot to respray myself after getting, it was pretty humid. It was in Florida. And a part of the second workout I did was yoga. So there was a laying down, and I guarantee you a mosquito got under me and my mat, and like my back, my arm, my elbow, and my face all got bit. And they're massive bumps, massive, massive bumps. And I am so itchy. Feel like I'm getting sick because of these mosquitoes. Maybe I have West Nile virus. Just kidding. I don't know that for sure, but who has anyone gotten bit by a mosquito on their face? Like, come on, give me a break here. I don't care if you bite my arm, my toes, my whatever, my face. So I have these, they're huge and they look like cystic acne. I don't care what they look like. They hurt. And I just hope that they go away because they're red and they're massive. And I have pretty sensitive skin on my face. So I scar when I have a pimple. Like, it's so annoying. But yeah, can you believe that? Anyways, Lady World. So this was a bunch of podcasters and comedians. Plus they had a Y2K night, which I did not think I was going to like, but let me tell you about it. So the first night it was Lady Gang who put on Lady World. They call it like podcast Coachella. And then they had Stassi Schroeder from Vanderpump. So as you guys know, I absolutely love all my trash reality TV shows. So to see her was really great. I really, really enjoyed her. And then, like I said, during the day, they had workouts, they had yoga, they had this manifesting thing. That was really cool. So she had this paper that dissolved in the ocean. We were in Miramar Beach. If you've never been, the
whitest sand and bluest ocean I've ever seen. And I've been to the Caribbean. It was insane. I was like, this is America? Yes, Miramar Beach. Definitely will want to go back with Mark. So, anyways, so you wrote down all the things you wanted to let go of, and then we all walked to the ocean and put our little paper in the ocean and it dissolved. There was like Elf was one of the sponsors, so there was a gifting station, there was braid stations, there was cocktails and walks. It was like they said like a female summer camp. It was amazing. And then at night on Saturday, it was Hannah Berner, who I absolutely, oh, I'm sorry, Justin Sylvester and Rachel Lindsay, who is awesome, Hannah Berner, who is awesome, and then the Y2K concert. So I'm looking at this concert and I'm like, Ryan Cabrera, Chris Kirkpatrick, Mark McGrath, O-Town, LFO, which did you guys know that like LFO has one remaining member? They all died of like cancer. So sad. And he came out with like their sneakers on his microphone. And I was like, what is happening? I got the lowdown. And then BB Mac. So I'm like, I'll hang around. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And then Chris Kirkpatrick and O-Town basically did all of NSYNC songs. They killed it. O-Town, by the way, those guys have aged gracefully. They were dancing. They looked hot. I was like, what? What is happening here? I sang my ass off. It was so much fun. And every night, as you guys know, I love a theme. Every night was a theme. So the first night was tropical. The second night was Y2K. I pulled off like JWoww, like it was nobody's business. I will put a picture here. And the third night was pink, which I did post a picture in like my little pink dress, my pink boots, my pink glasses. And then the third night was Chicks in the Office. And then Caitlin Bristow. I didn't see as much of that. I did go see Chicks in the Office at an event outside of it. It was really, really fun. We just had a girls' weekend, like singing, talking, crying, laughing a lot. Definitely needed. So probably gonna go next year. We'll see. But next time I'm gonna bring my freaking extra duty mosquito repellent. And please, if you have a way to prevent mosquito bites beyond, so I've done the natural stuff. I've used the Avon Skin So Soft, which I need more of. So if you're an Avon rep, please DM me. You can also get on Amazon, but it is really hard to get on Amazon. And then what are your remedies? I've done the hot water and the spoon where you basically burn it. That didn't work this time. I've done what is it called? It's like that. It has an X on it. It's called Afterbite. I have that. I have hydrocortisone cream. I've been taking Benadryl. One of the girls said that aftershave helps. No, none of it helps me. So please tell me what your remedies are because I need it. All right, let's get into it. So, as I said, one of the most frustrating things, but common questions that I get is when will I see results? Okay, this is for people who are looking at fat loss. This is people who want to build muscle. This is for people who want to have better energy, feel better in their bodies, whatever that looks like, right? Have a better relationship with food. And it's natural for you to want proof, especially when you're putting in the effort, right? But the truth is that results do follow a timeline. And like I said, it's not necessarily the timeline that a lot of women are used to, especially when they've been on these yo-yo quick fix type of diets or programs. And they want it to be fast, they want it to be linear. But when it's not, they oftentimes get frustrated and they will actually engage in behaviors that are counter to them getting results. And then they'll blame the diet on the fact that they don't have results when really it's the behaviors of their impatience. And so I wanted to walk you through what's normal, what's not normal, and what you can actually expect along the way. So, why results take time? Well, first and foremost, for a lot of people that I work with, we're having to undo a lot of damage that was done from past programs, right? Number one is this idea that your body is going to change quickly. And one of the shitty things that I have to tell you guys is that the more that you've been through that yo-yo cycle, the harder it is to lose weight thereafter because your body is just it's just constantly adapting to being in this famine state to this feasting state, or as we say, restrictive state to binging state. the other thing with a lot of programs is they're very focused on like the scale. They're very focused on before and after pictures. I mean, I've done programs back in the day where you take the picture, right, with the date, the name of the program, your name, right? You take your first picture and then 30 days later, you take your second picture and they post these miraculous changes over 30 days. So in your brain, you're like, oh my God, I should be changing like that in 30 days. And then you do it again and again. But after so many times, you're not seeing the results after 30 days, or, the program is so unsustainable that you can't follow through with it. So the first thing I want you guys to understand is the scale is not going to be the first thing that changes. Okay. You, unless you're doing something very disordered or extreme, the scale is not going to be the first thing that changes. The first thing that's going to change is your body's going to start adapting inside, especially when we're doing it right. But again, before that, I'm having to undo a lot of these rigid rules that clients have. I will have clients ask me how to do my job and tell me how to do my job. Well, what do you think about adding in this? Or don't you think my calories should be this? And I say to them, no, this is exactly what it needs to be. I need you to trust me, trust the process, and I educate them. But there is a good amount of time we're undoing, especially the mindset of matter. We're working through the psychological curriculum. For a lot of clients, they're not even seeing a fat loss phase for the first 3 to 6 months, depending on how severe their rules and expectations are around how their bodies are supposed to change. And it takes them in their minds longer to get to the end. But in all reality, we're actually saving time to get to where they want to be, because what we're not doing is, again, the yo-yo, the up and down, the losing the weight, the gaining the weight, the losing the weight, the gaining the weight. We're taking time to undo all of the disordered eating patterns, right? Undo the idea that what sustainability is actually like rather than what they think it's like. We're creating a foundation underneath them that they can do while at maintenance calories, meaning learning how to track food consistently at maintenance calories is a lot easier than learning how to track food in a deficit, right? Learning how to exercise in a way that supports you while you have energy from more food is going to be a lot easier than trying to find energy from a deficit. So not only are we undoing the rules and expectations that diet culture, social media, previous diets have created in their minds, we're also creating a foundation of new behaviors, right? That's why I say we're the intersection of science and psychology. The science is physiologically what we need to do to the body, and then the psychology is what we mentally need to do to the brain in an effort to get there. But once we have that foundation, so let me talk about the foundation real quick. We're tracking consistently, right? We're hitting our targets within 100 calories or 10 grams of our macros, up or down. We are able to eat foods in a way that makes us feel good. So I like to say like 80% of our foods are whole foods that hopefully are also pleasurable to us. So we learn not only what foods do we find nourishing and pleasurable, but also learn how to cook foods in a way that are your whole foods that make them taste better. And then 20% of the time, we're having those pleasurable foods in our lives and we're learning how to eat them in a way that makes us feel good, that makes us feel satiated, but doesn't create that shame and guilt. Or if we have a sense of shame and guilt, what we're not doing is taking that shame and guilt and then creating additional behaviors from it, because that pattern will easily make you unsuccessful on whatever it is you're doing. We are exercising, whether it's 15 minutes a day for 5 days a week, two full body workouts. We're finding what exercise looks for us, for our clients, current stress, energy, responsibilities, and doing that consistently. We're hitting a step count consistently, and we're starting to catch and reframe our negative thoughts about our bodies, our food, our choices. We're really getting in the way of all or nothing thinking, perfect fail thinking, people pleasing, learning how to set boundaries with others, and learning how to manage our stress. And like I always say, let the air out of the balloon slowly rather than what we're used to, which is letting that balloon go and, it's flying all over the place. That's the foundation I want people to create. So Once that's done, and I'm getting my protein in and my fiber and my water, throw those in there too. Once we're there, what's going to start first? You're going to start seeing changes from the inside. Your hormones are going to begin to adapt, especially your ghrelin and your leptin, which helps with your hunger and fullness cues. Okay. Your blood sugar is going to be more stable because we're getting in our protein, we're getting in our fiber, we're eating more often, we're being aware of our hunger and fullness cues. Your stress resilience, you're going to lower that cortisol because what do we talk about? We're going to let that air out of the balloon slowly through things like breath work, meditation, journaling, even just checking in with yourself. Today's sponsor is the Mindset of Matter Coaching. Are you tired of chasing every diet, every workout plan, and still feeling stuck? At the Mindset of Matter, we get it because we've been there and we know what actually works. This isn't about starving yourself, burning out in the gym, or waiting for motivation to strike. That cycle only leads to frustration and guilt. Our coaching program gives you structure without obsession, strength without exhaustion, and freedom without losing results. It's not just fitness, it's mindset, nutrition, and training that finally fit into your life. Led by me, Christina Hathaway, therapist, trainer, and nutrition coach, myself and my team have helped thousands of ambitious women break free from perfectionism, heal their relationships with food, and actually love how they feel in their bodies. So if you're ready to stop starting over and start thriving instead, this is your sign. Apply for coaching today and let's build your strongest, most confident self. The Mindset of Matter, because success isn't about doing more, it's about doing it differently. Those things are shifting long before anything outside of the body is shifting. And more importantly, you're learning how to be successful. That foundation that we create prior to a fat loss phase is showing you that you can be successful, but through success, you're also building confidence. And that is incredibly important because, like I said before, these programs are usually around 30 days to 60 days because after 30 to 60 days, people lose that motivation. And after a certain point, you're going to realize, like, oh, motivation isn't as important as consistency. And a lot of these programs, you can't be consistent with over a long period of time. And that's why they're short. Bet you didn't know that. After that, you're going to have weeks of movement on a scale or in your pictures. You're going to have plateaus. All right. You might even have temporary reversals. Right now, I have a client who's in a deficit. She's doing everything, but over the past weekend, her weight went up. And she goes, I'm not really sure why, because we have those conversations about weight anomalies. But just to come back to the timeline. So I would say around the first 1 to 3 months, you're just going to start feeling better. You're going to start sleeping better. You might even get stronger in the gym. You're going to feel more energized. You might even have, even in the first 3 months, some improvements in your blood work if that's something that is necessary. And so building those foundations early on is like laying the foundation of a house, right? So you're laying down the muscle fibers, you're recalibrating your hunger signals, you're restoring your metabolism, kind of like you're putting down that cement, you're smoothing it out, right? You're creating that concrete base before the house goes up. And of course, we would not want to rush stability of a home. So we don't want to rush stability in your body. And just like adaptation, we talk about adaptation in a negative way. Adaptation happens with consistency. What might feel slow, especially again, if you're someone who has yo-yo dieted, is actually your body's way of protecting itself, right? It's testing if you're safe and committed to what you're doing before it lets go of fat stores, okay? Before it allows for your metabolism to maybe, ramp up a little bit. It is the way that your body works. It's not you failing. It's not that you need to do more. You just need to do more patience. You know what I mean by that? You just need to be more patient. We don't need to do more. Okay. And durability is really what we want. Fast results do not last. I always say that the sooner you lose it, the sooner you gain it back. Slower results are what's going to stick for you. Okay. What is incredibly, incredibly important, guys, when you are going through the process of fat loss is that slower results are what stick because you have rehearsed that thing those habits enough times, okay, over a longer period of time that they hold up during stress, during travel, during illness, during life's chaos. So that is incredibly important for you guys to understand because when it's quick, when it's unsustainable, those types of stressors knock you off of your access or, as you guys say, off track. When it's slow and I can rehearse it enough to build consistency and durability in my mind, it is going to be foolproof once I get to those stressful places. And that is going to help you see your results and keep your results. All right. First, for 1 to 3 months, we're going to feel it inside. 3 to 6 months, we're going to start feeling it in our clothes. Other people might start noticing it. Again, we're going to get stronger in the gym. We're going to feel like, wow, I got through the vacation. I maybe maintained my weight. I enjoyed myself on my kid's birthday, and I'm just right back to my habits. You're really again starting to be confident. And around 6 months, you're going to see it in yourself. You might see it a little bit sooner. I've had clients see it sooner, especially with progress photos, but you're going to be able to see it. We're now buying a different size of clothes, right? You may not even see it on the scale at 6 months, but your body is changing completely. Again, you're just getting stronger. You're getting more advanced in the gym. You're feeling more confident in the gym. People are maybe asking you, what are you doing? Like, teach me how to do it. And then after, 6 months to a year, now it's your lifestyle. This is who you are. And not only is it your lifestyle, you know how to be flexible with it. You've had up to a year to strengthen that foundation and to teach yourself, okay, when I'm traveling, this is what my foundation looks like versus when I'm at home, right? And when I'm traveling for work, it looks a bit different than when I'm traveling for pleasure. And you just learn how to, as I always say, you know, change the tuning on your boombox, right? Coming back to the boombox theory, for those of you who are new, you have this boombox and you have a knob for nutrition, for movement, for exercise, movement being your non-exercise activity like walking, fidgeting, things like that. Exercise, stress management, and other habits like water and things like that. And you learn, okay, when I'm traveling for work, maybe my nutrition goes down a bit, but I walk a lot. So I'm going to turn my movement up. I'm going to turn my stress management up, and I'm going to make sure I drink my water. Maybe my exercise goes down because I'm in meetings or something like that. When I'm sick, my nutrition goes way up, my exercise, my movement goes down, my stress management goes up, my water, my habits go up. So learning how to, as time goes on, you're learning how to make those adjustments on your boombox so that no matter what the situation is, you still have a foundation. We're still going in the same direction. So I want to talk about why though. What gets in the way of your results? Your impatience causes you to want to run away quickly. You think I'm not seeing results. And so you're like, I'm going to go program hop. How many of you have program hop? I want you to think about how many programs you've been on and why. Because you're impatient, right? Stopping at week 3 means that you never get to experience the compound effect of you getting to week 6, right? Or week 9. Momentum, again, takes time to stack up. And quitting too soon keeps you from ever experiencing success, right? And you keep starting over with this like day one energy. And if we're always starting at day one, then we're always starting at the beginning, meaning we're always starting in the same kind of stuck place that we're in. So give it some time. The other thing too, like I've already talked about, the yo-yo tactics really produce that under eating and over exercising, and that alone can suppress results. Running on empty, I'll be honest, I felt comfortable running on empty for a long time. It felt like a sense of control, like I was doing something that other people couldn't do. But my body burnt out, and so will yours, right? Your body will burn out, and oftentimes we tend to overcorrect and we won't want to do anything and we want to eat everything. And we've just taken whatever amount of time that we put into losing the weight, it takes half the time, we've already gained it back. Okay. The other thing that I find that people get frustrated with is that they only use the scale as their results, right? Or that's the only thing they want to track, missing out on what we call NSVs, which are non-scale victories. Things like I've already talked about, increase in strength, increase in energy, just solely feeling more confident in doing something different, having better sleep, having improved clarity, even, right? Improved focus. The scale, yes, we use it, but it's one data point, and a lot of you do it wrong. And I'm not talking to the person who gets super triggered by the scale. That you might also want to do the things I'm talking about, but obviously we need to deal with the mental health side of that. Oftentimes what you guys are doing is you're taking your weight on like Sunday morning or Monday morning after you've had a weekend, right? And say that weekend A, you and your family are chilling, nothing crazy happens and you're just pretty normal schedule when it comes to food and eating. But say Monday B, you had a birthday party and maybe you had some drinks and ate a bit more than you normally do. So Monday A, you get on the scale and you're 150. Monday B, you get on the scale and you're 154. You think, oh my God, I've gained weight. This isn't working. But if you were to weigh yourself Monday A, Tuesday A, Wednesday A, Thursday A, Friday through Sunday, take an average for the week, then also do the same the next week, you would actually probably see you either maintained your weight or lost some weight. Weighing yourself every day at the same time of the day and then taking an average for the week will help you recognize, number one, that the scale fluctuates all of the time. Number two, that your averages are more important than one day. When you take the averages, you'll start to see that the trajectory is going in the right direction. And that's where coaching is really helpful. You don't know how many times I'm walking people off the ledge because they saw that their weight went up after a weekend. It always happens after the weekend. And I want to share this. I have a client who has admitted weekends will take me out of a deficit. And she's been working with me for a good amount of time. And we finally look at the patterns. And I would show her in her weights because we could see this in her weight. She was weighing herself every day. And for the first time on a Monday, this is the lowest weigh-in that she's had because she has worked on this pattern. And I'm so freaking proud of her. I saw that in Everfit in our community forum today. Hell yeah to her. But again, coming back to you're only using the scale, right? And the scale is just one data point, and a lot of you are doing it incorrectly. Taking the average, blowing it up, looking at it from a month's time is incredibly important because when I blow up my clients, they have line graphs in Everfit, plus we can average out their weight per week in Everfit. You see, you might have some spikes, you have some lows, but it kind of goes into this downward direction over the 4 weeks. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I lost weight. I'm like, well, this is why I'm here, right? Other things that stand in the way of your results is perfectionism, right? Waiting for perfect weeks, waiting for the perfect time. That's just going to create stalling. This is a level of perfectionism, which we call avoidant perfectionism, where you're just waiting for it to be so perfect that you'll be successful rather than just having imperfected consistency. What do I mean by that is giving B plus effort is great. I love a B plus. Give me a B minus even. Probably, C's are going to be probably a half a pound of weight loss per week, maybe even less. But B plus effort is going to stack up over time, and it's going to keep you from that all or nothing thinking, or even, as we had mentioned, that analysis paralysis where you're just waiting for the right time to happen. When you can give me a B effort, I love it. I love it. B's get degrees. The other thing we don't want to do is compare ourselves to somebody else, especially, I try not to use a lot of progress photos in my program. We like to talk about different types of wins, and I think that's really helpful. We also like to talk about similar challenges, because a lot of people do have a lot of the same challenges. They may not have the same wins, but when we're comparing to somebody else, especially with a lot of people who are on weight loss drugs, it can make us feel really terrible inside. And just reframing and reminding yourself, like, this time, baby, I'll be bulletproof. Sing it with me. This time, baby, I'll be bulletproof. Yes. What do I mean by that? You're doing it the right way. You're, and I'm not saying the weight loss drugs are the wrong way, but as you're making the choice to create the foundation that does not require you to be on a weight loss drug. Some of my clients are. So I'm not talking to those clients. And even with those clients, they're figuring out the foundation that worked for them. So you're creating that bulletproof approach, and you don't need to compare it to anyone else. Your body is your body. Your history with your body and dieting is your body. The amount of muscle you have, how you strength train. Do you have kids? Like, look at me. Do not ever compare to me. I am childless. I have a gym in my home. I work from home. I have the means, right? I can go to a gym. I can work out here. I have a mountain by my house. I have the freedom to walk my dog. I have a husband who knows how to make the meals I want him to make. Don't compare to me because my situation is a lot different, right? Last thing is lack of recovery. You think go, 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 go. Again, I have you guys asking me all the time, well, shouldn't I add another hit or that? No. If I don't tell you that we're adding it, we're not adding it, right? But again, it's that kind of, well, if I just do more, it's going to, no. Results don't come from the gym alone. They're built in fueling, food. They're built in rest and recovery. So skipping the rest and recovery is skipping a very big piece of this puzzle, and it's going to stall your results. It's going to stall your strength, your energy, and your fat loss. So allow yourself to chill out. Okay, so let's go over the timeline one more time. I had it here in my notes, but I skipped ahead. This is why I have notes. So weeks 1 and 2 is awareness and early adaptations. You may notice better digestion, less bloating, more energy stability, and improved sleep. Weight may fluctuate up and down due to water retention and glycogen shifts. That's really, really important because I will see people lose a good amount of water for the first week because they're just changing the way that they're eating. They're probably eating more whole foods, less processed foods. So they see this shift and they're like, oh my God, I lost 5 pounds. And then then from there, their weight loss stalls to like 1 pound a week. And then they think they've failed when actually 1 pound a week is good. Okay. The win in the first 1 to 2 weeks is building consistency with your meals, as we talked about, your workouts and recovery habits. Weeks 3 to 6, initial visible shifts. Okay. Your clothes may fit differently. Strength begins to climb. Stamina improves. Your scale weight might be trending down if fat loss is the goal. And normally, if we're doing it right, we're doing it slowly, that's 0.5 pound to 1 pound of weight loss per week. For building, muscle growth is subtle. If you're new to strength training, you'll see newbie gains, or you'll start to see a pump, which is where you just see more definition in your muscles, and growth of muscle or hypertrophy will come later. This is around that, 1.5 month mark is where we want to be like, we want to start saying, I have proof, right? This is a proof of concept phase that this is working. Okay. 1.5 months to 3 months, we start seeing compounding process. Okay. So your habits are feeling less forced. Your physical changes become more noticeable, right? So you might start seeing body composition changes, shifts in endurance, strength, body fat percentage might change. But for fat loss, even around that 3 month mark, we might be at like 5 to 10 pounds. 5 to 10 pounds is a good amount of fat. If you don't think so, go pick up a 5 pound bag of potatoes. It's a lot. Okay. And 5 to 10 pounds over a 3 month period is sustainable. Okay. For building, if this is something that your goal is, you'll start to notice an increase in your performance, but it will be small. Okay. It'll be small, but measurable. When we're building muscle, 1/4 to 0.5 pound of muscle is realistic around the 3 month mark. Okay. I'm sorry, 1/4 to 0.5 pound of muscle per month. So 1.5 pounds of muscle max. After 3 months, 3 to 6 months, as I already said, that's the real transition. Okay. Visible fat loss, visible clear muscle gain. Hormonal and metabolic health shows vast improvements. Your labs, your cycles, your recovery, you have more energy, you have more confidence. This is where you are like, yes, I feel amazing. I see it all of the time. And then, like I said, 6 months to 12 months, right? This is where long-term change starts to happen. Deep physical changes, significant recomposition, strengths, personal bests in the gym, long-term weight loss at this point, identity shifts, usually after about that. I said earlier the year, but I would say 9 months where this isn't a plan anymore. This is who you are. At this stage, results are both visible and sustainable, which is incredibly important because we're no longer in this hacks. We're no longer hacking. We are in the lifestyle. So, as you guys are learning how to define results, I want you to ask yourself, do I feel stronger? Do I recover faster? Does energy feel more stable? Are my cravings quieter, the food noise quieter? Do my clothes fit differently? One of my favorite things is clients when they catch themselves in that mirror and they're like, "Oh my God, my arm." And some of them like to like downplay it. They like to say like, "Oh, it's just a little baby muscle." I'm like, "We love baby muscles around here, you know?" And I want to hear about the baby muscles. I want to hear about the big muscles. I want to hear about all of the changes. So to stay in the game, we're going to set that 90-day expectation. Promise. Set a 90-day expectation, not a 9-day transformation. When you do that, 9-day transformation will fail all the time. Set 90 days. And again, around that 90-day period, you're going to start thinking like, okay, I get it now. This is working. Focus on your behaviors, not just the outcomes of them, because the behaviors are what's going to be the thing that you're going to want to obviously be consistent with, but also remember when I said the boombox, the behaviors are the knobs on the boombox that you will turn up or down. We're never turning them off. We never turn them on full blast. So those behaviors, again, as you are consistent with them and you can create durability with them, they're going to be easier to be flexible with when stress and life gets in the way. Measure multiple metrics. Your photos, of course, is great. Your measurements, strength in the gym. That's why at the Mindset of Matter, all of our clients' workouts, we are able to track where they've been. Where, and I would say every 2 to 4 weeks, I'm going through with them their progress they've made in the gym. Other logs you can keep is your cycle, your sleep, your mood, your labs. These are all really, really great measures of progress. And also something I didn't really talk about is just normalizing plateaus. You will plateau. This is one of the main reasons I don't put everything on a client. Could I have a client work out 7 days a week? Sure. Or walk 10,000 steps? Sure. However, if my client comes to me and they're only walking 4,000 steps, I'm going to get them to 6,000. And then I'm going to keep that other 4,000 steps, working our way up to 10, in my back pocket so that when we have a plateau, I'm going to say, okay, we're at 6,000 steps. How realistic is it for you to increase by 2,000? You say, I think I can do that. Great, let's do that. And just increasing by those 2,000 steps every day, we get them out of that plateau. We didn't have to cut their calories further down. I do also keep calories in my back pocket so that when we plateau, I can cut it down if I need to. Most of the time, it could be a stress plateau, digestion plateau, a hormonal plateau. We don't even have to make a lot of changes, but that's why I don't put everything on the table up front, which a lot of these, extreme programs do. They do the 7 days a week, the 10,000 steps, the cutting the calories very low, because again, that's why the programs are short. They're missing the plateau period. But for them, it works because they have the before and afters and they just keep selling that same 30-day program. So we want to normalize plateaus. So bottom line, meaningful change does not come in 2 weeks. It comes with building layer by layer, right? Compounding your results, feeling actual confidence that you can do it. So if you've been asking yourself, when am I going to see results? Know that if you're consistent, you start feeling them in weeks, seeing them in months, and living them within the year. Now, if you want some help with this and a place that's going to, again, help you undo these psychological rules and expectations that have really kept you from seeing results Most of the time, that is the thing that is the biggest shift that clients need to make. Plus, also, as I said, creating habits and behaviors that you can feel successful at and build confidence in. Let me know. Check out the show notes below for the Clarity Call link. We have openings for one-to-one coaching and group coaching. And then stay tuned when I announce the next launch for the Mindset of Menopause next cohort. It was supposed to be in September, but with everything that has happened in the past couple of months, I've just given myself some time and grace, which I'm allowed to do, right? So if you know anybody who is constantly frustrated of not seeing results or they're moving from program to program, please share this podcast with them. It's the easiest thing you can do to help support me and all of us working behind the scenes. And of course, if you would love to, I'd love a 5-star rating and review. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, you just hit that 5 stars and it populates to a 5-star review. On YouTube, if you'd love to comment or, of course, subscribe, that would be super helpful too. So I hope to hear from you guys because, holidays are coming and just think about it. By January, you're going to be 3 months ahead of all your friends who are going to be starting their New Year's resolution, and you'll already have that foundation built on top of all of them. They're going to be wondering, what did you do? Tell me. And you're like, oh, baby, you're 3 months behind. Get on the horn and then give them my number. And I'm going to leave you guys as I do every week. And I want to remind you of a very, very important thing. And that is what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.